What's up, ladies? Today I'm going to be talking to you about how to track your cycle. Tracking your cycle is honestly one of the most empowering things you can do as a woman because it gives you so much insight into your body and what's happening in your day-to-day cycle. So it could tell you clues about something going wrong. It could tell you clues about when you're most fertile so you can time sex properly. It could tell you clues that maybe your thyroid is off, and I'll tell you exactly what I mean by that. So it's a really, really powerful tool that gives you so much insight into your body to the point where once you get good at it and it becomes like a no-brainer to start tracking, you just never want to stop. It's like you're a gardener and you get really good at understanding the seasons and when to do what. That same thing happens when you track your cycle. You get really good at understanding your body, the phases it goes through, what to do inside each part of the cycle, what to not do in each part of the cycle. It's just such a beautiful and empowering journey that I want you to go on. So when I say tracking your cycle, what I mean is we want you to track two things. One is your cervical mucus. Two is your basal body temperature. Cervical mucus will allow you to predict ovulation, and basal body temperature will allow you to confirm ovulation. And we'll get deeper into what I mean by that. So let's start by talking about cervical mucus, right? So cervical mucus is the mucus that your cervix is producing every single day. And this mucus changes day to day throughout your cycle because of the influence of the hormones estrogen and progesterone. So in the first half of your cycle, right when you have your period, your estrogen is pretty low, and it gradually increases during that follicular phase. As your estrogen is rising, so is the cervical mucus that's being created in your cervix. So you'll start to notice as your estrogen rises and you get deeper into the follicular phase, you'll start to notice more cervical mucus. And this is because cervical mucus is super important for sperm. So as estrogen rises, it creates a cervical mucus that is very alkaline and also rich in glucose to feed the sperm, and clear and stretchy, and allows the sperm to swim to the egg. So in the beginning of your cycle, your cervical mucus may be kind of non-existent or dry or sticky or tacky, but as your estrogen rises, you should start to notice first like a lotiony, creamy cervical mucus, and then it becomes this egg white cervical mucus. This egg white cervical mucus will be stretchy, and it'll like stretch like 1, 2, 3 inches between your fingers. And this is peak cervical mucus, meaning like this is when the sperm thrive. So if you have intercourse during this time, not only can the sperm survive in this type of cervical mucus for up to 5 days, but the sugars in the cervical mucus, this type of cervical mucus is very high, so the sperm are getting fed, and the alkaline environment of the cervical mucus is high, so the sperm can survive. After you ovulate, the cervical mucus changes. So it's no longer this egg white, stretchy cervical mucus, and instead it becomes like sticky, tacky, or sometimes even dries out completely for some women. This is because progesterone causes the cervical mucus to change again. Because once you've ovulated, your time to have a baby has closed. Like you can't conceive again until the next cycle. So you don't need fertile cervical mucus in that second half of your cycle. So the body creates like very thick, sticky cervical mucus that sperm can't really survive in and they can't really swim in. So by tracking your cervical mucus throughout your cycle, you can know not only what phase you are in your cycle, but how fertile you are. So again, in the beginning of your cycle, when you have that dry, sticky, tacky cervical mucus, that's not fertile mucus. And then as your estrogen rises, it starts to become creamy and lotiony. That's like semi-fertile. It's like kind of fertile, but not like peak fertility. And then it becomes egg white, stretchy for like 1 to 3 days. That's when you know you're at peak fertility, and that's when you want to time intercourse. And then after you ovulate, again, it becomes dry, tacky, sticky, and not fertile cervical mucus again. The best way to track your cervical mucus is by looking at your underwear. So when you use the bathroom, you just take a look at your underwear. What do you see down there? Do you see like cloudy, lotiony cervical mucus? Is it very sticky and tacky? Or is it like clear, stretchy cervical mucus that you can literally pick up with your finger and like stretch between your finger? If you see nothing in your underwear, which some women, they may not be making enough cervical mucus to actually see it in their underwear, what they could do is you could take a piece of toilet paper before you pee or poop, fold it, and then wipe from back to front. and check on the paper and see what you see there. And try to feel around of what type of mucus do you feel. This is not going to be something that you figure out overnight. It's going to take you many days, many weeks to really get good with this and figure out different types of cervical mucus your body's making. But give it time. Give it like 1 month, 2 months, and you'll get really, really good at it within no time. If even after wiping, you don't see any cervical mucus, then the last thing that you can do is take your finger, wash it, clean it, and put it up your cervix and see what comes out. Take your finger out and just feel for it, feel what kind of cervical mucus it is, and then you can log it and note down what you see. So that is all I have to say about cervical mucus. Now I'm going to move on to basal body temperature. So basal body temperature, or BBT for short, is essentially your body temperature immediately upon waking up. This is usually the lowest temperature that your body will be over the course of the day, because as you get up and move around, as you eat breakfast and just become more active in the day, your body temperature rises. So you want to measure your temperature before your metabolism has kicked in, before your body temperature has risen. So your basal body temperature is the temperature that you know immediately after getting up. The reason you want to track this is because progesterone does something miraculous in the body, where after you ovulate, you make progesterone, because that's what the corpus luteum does. It makes progesterone, which helps stabilize the uterine lining for potential pregnancy. Progesterone raises your body temperature from anywhere between 0.5 degree to a whole degree Fahrenheit. So tracking your basal body temperatures allows you to confirm whether you actually ovulated or not, because if you did ovulate, your progesterone will rise. Like, there's no other alternative. Like, your progesterone has to rise because the corpus luteum will make progesterone. So by tracking your basal body temperature, you can confirm whether you ovulated or not. Typically, it'll take anywhere between 2 to 3 days after you ovulate for your basal body temperature to rise and then to stay risen. And you want your basal body temperature to stay high for 3 or more days for you to confirm ovulation. And so let's say your normal temps in your follicular phase, first half of your cycle, are, between 97.6 or 97.7, 97.8. You're just kind of seeing it in that range. And then on, let's say, day 16, you predict you ovulated because you see that clear, stretchy mucus. Then you see that on day 18, your temperatures go up to like 98. And then maybe they're like 98.1 the next day. They're 98.1 the next day again. You have 3 days of elevated temperatures. That's enough to confirm that you ovulated. Typically, you want it to be elevated minimum by 0.3 degrees Fahrenheit, but ideally around 0.5 to 1 degree Fahrenheit will typically confirm ovulation. And there's a couple different ways to track your basal body temperature. The cheapest, simplest way is to use an oral thermometer. You can get one of these on Amazon for like 10 or 15 bucks. And what you do is you wake up and immediately you put that thing in your mouth, under your tongue. You let it warm up. So you don't want to press the button right away. Keep it in your mouth for like 5-10 minutes, and then press the button and measure your temperature, and then immediately lock it down. This is easy and cheap, but it is, in my opinion, somewhat of a nuisance because you have to sit there for like 5 or 10 minutes to wait for the thermometer to kind of like warm up and take your body temperature. The other way that I find super convenient and honestly more accurate is using a device called Temp Drop. And Temp Drop is essentially measuring your basal body temperature throughout the night, so you don't have to do anything. You just wear this armband on your arm overnight. So right before you go to bed, you put it on your arm, you press the button to start tracking, and it tracks your temperature overnight. And as soon as you get up, you press the sync button and it'll sync to your app. There's a Temp Drop app, and it'll tell you exactly what your basal body temperature was for that night or that morning. And so then you can just log it into your app and then you're done. I just love using Temp Drop because it just makes it so much easier. It's not only more accurate, but you don't have to wait like 5 or 10 minutes for the thermometer to like warm up and take the temperature. You just kind of get up, you press the button and sync it, and then it's done. So highly recommend using Temp Drop if you can afford it. If you can't, you can totally go for the oral thermometer option and you'll get just as good of a reading if you are very consistent about it. So now that you understand what cervical mucus is, how to track it, as well as what basal body temperature is and how to track it, I want to talk about a couple of apps that will make your life a lot easier to track and maintain your logs. So obviously you don't need to use an app to track. You can certainly just have a notebook where you have days, you track what cycle day you are, you put your basal body temperature for that day, any cervical mucus that you notice for that day, and you can have a notebook that you track it on. But I find that having it in an app is just easier. It's digital, I can access it anywhere. I don't have to worry about carrying around a notebook with me or forgetting the notebook or losing the notebook or something. So an app is just gonna be a lot easier in my opinion. And the top apps that I would recommend, my favorite is Natural Cycles. I use Natural Cycles for tracking my temps and cervical mucus, but there's also other options. You can use Clue, which is also very, very popular and a lot of women love that. You can use Flow as well. And there's also some free alternatives that exist out there that are good. So there's lots of different options. The main thing that you want in this app is the ability to log your basal body temperature and to log the cervical mucus type that you see. So my process for this is what I do. So I wear the temp drop at night and I press the button and it starts tracking. In the morning, I get up, I sync it to the app, and the temp drop app will tell me what my BBT was. I take that temperature and I put it into the Natural Cycles app. And then throughout the day, I will just keep an eye on what cervical mucus I see. If I see any that day, I'll just make a note of what type I'm seeing and log it into the Natural Cycles app, and that's it. And then you can share that data with your provider, and we can do all kinds of interesting analysis on your cycle by just getting these 2 data points for every day of your cycle. Now, another popular question that we get is like, what about ovulation strips or LH strips as they're commonly called? Should we use those for tracking ovulation? Isn't that the default method? So ovulation strips are useful, but they're not like that useful, and I'll explain why. So ovulation strips are where you basically have this strip that you pee on, and then it'll tell you whether your LH is at above a certain threshold for you to be ovulating. So what happens in your cycle is, your estrogen's rising in your follicular phase, and this hormone called LH surges all of a sudden, and this triggers the egg to be released, and that's when you ovulate. So what these LH strips are basically measuring is they're measuring whether your LH has surged so that you know whether you're going to be ovulating very soon. Typically after an LH surge, you will ovulate anywhere between like 12 to 36 hours after that surge happens. But here's the caveat. So you can have an LH surge and still not ovulate. Like your body might try to ovulate, so it surges LH, but it just doesn't get there. So the egg is not released for whatever reason. Maybe it was a really stressy cycle that you had, a stressful few days, and that egg didn't mature as well as your body wanted it to, or there's just a lot of different reasons. So you can have an LH surge, but the egg never actually gets released. And this is actually very common for women with PCOS. Like they'll have multiple LH surges before they finally actually ovulate. So LH strips are useful to say, okay, you might be ovulating in the next 12 to 36 hours, so go have sex if your goal is pregnancy, but it doesn't actually confirm whether you ovulated. The only way to confirm ovulation is to measure your BBT. So you want to track your basal body temperature, and if it rises a couple days after ovulation and stays elevated for 3 or more days, then you know that you actually ovulated. So now that I've talked your ear off about why you should track, what apps to use to track, I want to talk about how to time intercourse properly based on the data that you're getting from when you're tracking. So the way conception works, you're only fertile for 6 days out of the month, out of the cycle. 5 days before ovulation and the day of ovulation. You are not fertile beyond that. So if you have sex 2 days after ovulation, you're not getting pregnant. If you have sex 8 days before you ovulate, you're not getting pregnant because the sperm just cannot live in the vagina for that long. There's no like the fertile cervical mucus for it to live there, and so it'll just die after a while. So the only time you can really conceive is the 5 days before ovulation and the day of ovulation. So 5 days before ovulation, your chances are still low. They're like 10 to 15%, but they're not nothing, right? And then as you get closer to ovulation, the chances of conception increase dramatically. So like 3 days before ovulation, you're like 27% likely to conceive. 2 days before ovulation, that goes up to like 30, 35%. The day before ovulation, you are the most fertile. Like the chances of conception are 40%. So that is the day that you really, really want to conceive, like 1 day before you ovulate. So as soon as you see that stretchy, clear cervical mucus, you know it's time to go have sex because that's going to be your peak fertile days. then after you ovulate, the chances of conception are basically negligible and you're not going to get pregnant in your luteal phase. And the other question that we often get asked is like, do I need to have sex every day, multiple times a day? Like, how many times is enough? And the answer to this is usually every other day is good enough. In fact, if you do too much, that could actually hurt your chances, because a man, he can't ejaculate as many sperm as he needs to if he does it multiple times in a day or even every day. Like, giving him a break in between and doing it every other day allows him to produce a greater load and allows you to potentially get pregnant. So I would say time it so that you're having it every other day, that kind of like 6 days when you're most fertile. So maybe you have it on 5 days before ovulation, 3 days before ovulation, and the day before ovulation. It's not gonna be perfect every time, but you just wanna kind of figure out like every other day is when you wanna time intercourse. And finally, I wanna talk about not only just tracking your cycle to understand, where you are in your cycle, how to time intercourse properly, and all that, but it's also actually a very beautiful tool that you can use to spot dysfunctions in your cycle. For example, if you notice that your BBT is very low and consistently low. So if you're using an oral thermometer, this means it's below 97.6 every day in your follicular phase. Or if you're using a skin temp drop monitor, then your skin temperature can be like 0.5 to a degree lower than your oral. So if it's below like 96.6 degrees Fahrenheit consistently, that's a sign that your metabolism has slowed down. So if you have consistently low temperatures, your metabolism is not functioning as optimally as it should, and that is going to affect your fertility. It's a sign that your thyroid is under functioning, because thyroid fundamentally is what drives your metabolism. So you have some clues into the fact that you need to work on your thyroid health because your metabolism is in the gutter. Another clue that you can get from tracking your cycle is, for example, if you have like really long follicular phases. So if you don't notice any cervical mucus for like first 10, 15 days of your cycle, and then you start to slowly see cervical mucus, and then you don't see the stretchy stuff until like day 21, 22, 23. So you're ovulating somewhere like, day 23, 24. That's a really long follicular phase, and that's not optimal. Like, you really want your follicular phase to really want to ovulate on day 21 or before that. So you want your follicular phase to be like 21 days or fewer. If it's longer than that, that could be a sign that you have really high stress and your body's just having trouble getting to that ovulation. It's taking a long time for that egg to mature. On the flip side, in the second half of your cycle, if you notice that from the day of ovulation till the day you bleed, that's your luteal phase. If you notice that that is less than 10 days, that's another sign that you're not as fertile as you could be. That's a sign typically of low progesterone. And there's multiple reasons why your body might have trouble making progesterone. It could be because your cortisol is high, and cortisol steals raw materials from progesterone. So if your cortisol is high, your body can't make as much progesterone. Another reason could be that your egg is just not a healthy egg. So in that follicular phase, those follicles that developed to make that egg were not as healthy, and so the corpus luteum is not healthy, so it's not making as much progesterone as it ideally should. So all in all, like, short luteal phases are another red flag that you can spot by tracking your cycle. Other things that you can spot is like extremely long cycles or extremely small, short cycles. Those are all not good signs either, and they all mean different things, and we want to investigate why that's happening to your body, why your body's taking super long to ovulate, or why your body's ovulating so quickly every cycle, because neither end of the spectrum are a good thing. Other interesting insights tracking your cycle could give you is around your cervical mucus. So if you notice that you just have a lot of abnormal cervical mucus, maybe it's excessive or it's acidic, or you're just noticing that it just doesn't seem right, that's a sign that potentially there's an infection going on. Maybe you have a urinary tract infection, some infection going on, or something that you need to dig deeper into. Or some women see no mucus at all, and that's not a good sign either, because that's a sign that your estrogen is low, and you want to figure out what's causing your estrogen to be low, because you need that mucus to get pregnant. Like, without that cervical mucus, you're not getting pregnant. So if you're not seeing anything in your underwear throughout the whole cycle, something to dig into as well. Last thing I want to say is, like, maybe you are seeing some cervical mucus, but you're never able to confirm ovulation. That's a sign that your body is trying, like, it's really trying, and the hormones are rising in the way that they should should, but just not getting there. So you want to figure out what's preventing your body from ovulating. So all in all, tracking your cycle is like a super powerful tool, and it's so simple in my opinion. Like once you get used to it, it just like, it becomes something that you don't even think about. It's just like brushing your teeth, right? And you just kind of do it. That's how it feels to me. Like I just do it because there's so much data and information I get from it that I can't imagine not having that data. And it'll take you maybe a month, maybe 2 months, maybe even 3 months to really get used to it and enjoy it and understand what the heck you're doing. But once you get there, I promise you it'll be 100% worth it. So highly recommend that you start tracking, and happy tracking, and I hope you enjoy it.